Hi, my name's Nihar Nana. I am the Customer Success Manager at KPI Fire. Welcome, and thank you for joining our webinar today. We're excited to share what's new in KPI Fire, and we have Randy Clark here, who's the VP of Sales, who'll be presenting. And go ahead and take it away, Randy.
Thank you, Nihar. Welcome, everybody. Let's pop into this real quick and look at our agenda today. We're going to introduce myself and the company a little bit about what KPI Fire does, what we're all about. I think, are we going to do the poll question or are we going to skip that? Nihar, did we?
I think with the poll question, I think we could skip the poll question, but
Okay.
if you have any questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and drop it in the chat. At the end, we're going to leave some time for a Q&A. But I think that'd
Yeah,
probably be the best way.
yeah, and so here's what we're going to do. I've sort of bucketed these into 4 or 5 different functionalities, right? There's some general functionality. We'll look at what's new, some things that apply to the continuous improvement type of use case. We'll get into the KPI management and how we metrics and different functions and metrics. We'll go into the cost reduction area and then the strategy execution. And like Nihar said, Q&A will have time at the end. But anytime that you've got a question throughout this, it'll pop it in that chat box and I'll see it pop up and I'll be able to address any questions that you've got. Okay? All right, so let's pop in here and get to the tool and look at what's new in KPI Fire, right? So here is my Demi site, Acme Corporation. First off, what we do is a little bit of navigation wise, and what's new in KPI Fire is this add new button up here at the top, right? And this is visible anywhere you are throughout the tool. So it used to be before we had the add new, if you wanted to create a project item, you would have to go to projects and create a project from there. If you wanted to add a new metric, you had to go to metrics and then add a metric from there. Now, anywhere you are in the tool, you have the ability to come in and say, hey, I've got a new project and I want to load it, give it a name, etc. Move on from there. So this is a very handy functional tool that it makes navigation easier, etc. Right? Also on the top menu is our shared views area. And this is a little bit different of what we put these 2 filters in here. So if we look at that shared view, and when we talk about shared views, these are reports, huddle boards, outputs that we've saved. And I might have filtered it for a certain group or a unit or a division or something, and I saved those views. And then what is available now is this filter where you can see my views versus all the views. So the ones you specifically created, and then all the ones that might be available for you to see that you have permission to see. So you can sort of filter and find those views that make sense to you. Okay. So as a general navigation, now we're going to sort of switch gears into a configuration item, and this has to do with workflows. So if I go into the admin panel and I'm looking at all of our workflows that we've created. And these are the workflows we're using, A3, PDCA, Kaizen, DMAIC. Now if I open one of these and make a change, let's say, to the charter tab, and maybe I go in and I say I want to add a new tile, a new text tile to this area. So there's this new text tile that I've added to it. And that's here down at the bottom here, right? And I can move it around. Now, when I go to save this thing, or go to exit it, I'm sorry, it will ask me, right? Let's go to my charter again, and let's just say I change this thing. If I go to save it, it's going to ask if I want to apply this to all so if you've been working with this workflow and you've got a lot of projects out there that are an A3 or DMAIC workflow, and you want to change or add this field, this now applies to all the existing ones, so you don't have to go in each one, right? You can apply that across multiple existing projects. All right, so. And then finally, we go in the general category, we go into the list view. on our projects. So here we got all of our projects here. Over on the right are our action buttons where we can edit the columns. Now we have always had the ability to select which columns you want to display. Now we have the ability to move those. If we say, listen, I want to take the project leader and put them as the first column. And you'll note that what just happened is I just jumped, right? If I hit done, right now the project leader is the first column. So the ability to sort of move those around, get a lot more flexibility in the way you view the list view. This is also available in the idea funnel. Whenever you're looking at a list view of all the ideas, you've got the same capability to move those items that are left and right. Okay. Okay. Let's move into the next section, which is continuous improvement area, and look at the idea area. So if I want to submit a new idea, what you note now, under the new idea, it used to be that you had the effort and impact element here. Now you have the ability to choose whether or not you want to display that effort and impact, right? So where the individual who's selecting or submitting an idea probably isn't equipped or knowledgeable enough to know, what is the level of the effort it's going to take, or what is the impact this is going to have. So we take that functionality away from the person who's submitting it, making it simpler and easier to do, and maybe not confuse people, right? So how am I supposed to know the impact and effort? Well, that's once I submit it, a team or a group will look at those ideas to evaluate, put those. So that's one of those configuration items. Now, once the ideas are submitted, we also have a few other functions in the idea funnel, and that is these tabs down here at the bottom. So this allows me to say, show me all of the ideas that are in the system, no matter, if they've been prioritized or if they're waiting to be prioritized. Show me all of the projects that have been activated. So these are ideas that came in and were turned into active now projects. This is similar to what that project list view would look like. Any rejected ideas? So here are all my list of rejected. In this case, I've shelved this idea because it falls in this high effort, low impact area. So we've shelved it. Any ones that I've already prioritized, and then the ones that I'm prioritizing. Now, when you look at a demo like this, where I've only got a handful, it's pretty simple. But when you've got 50 or 100 ideas coming in, a lot better understanding of being able to sort of filter down to the ones that, hey, these are the ones I need still to prioritize, etc. Okay. So let's do the changes with the ideas. Now, once projects are underway, we now have the ability to create what's called a no access user. So if I go into my team and I put in, hey, Ron, Sampson, right? And here, once I start searching for that name, it looks at the database of users in the tool and says, I can't find a match. Well, that's because that user is not in the tool. And I want to add them as a no access or user. Now, why would you do that? Well, do that, it doesn't take a license. And that person is then listed on the team. So as we go to reporting and who's on teams and who's been involved and who's engaged, to have a record of their involvement in that project or those activities. Okay, so that's what that adding a no access user does. Is it provides you that ability to sort of see that, hey, we're not spending a license on them, but we know that they were involved and engaged in his teams. Okay. Okay, so now also as well, when we're creating a new project, if I go in, say, new project, and I want to add this in as a new project, and I want to select a workflow, now the description of that workflow is now included at this point, where we used to have it, available. You could go sort of look at which workflows, but these are descriptions of each. Or when should I use a Kaizen? Well, it's a short cycle, team event, making rapid changes to processes. That's would be a Kaizen event that I would use that template. When would I use DMAIC? Well, when you're looking at, variation reduction and those types of things. So the description on that is sort of new function. Okay. All right. Any questions come in, guys? You want to pop it in the chat. If you've got a question on any of these or thoughts, pop it in the chat and I'll see it. Well, let's move on to KPI management. Okay? And so what we're going to do is go in, let's say, to just a test metric here. Do a search. I don't have any tests in there? No. Let's just create a new metric. Test. Add new metric. Hold on a second. Clear the filter. Test. Spell it right and it'll find it. There we go. Here's this new metric that we just added. So this feature is around the frequency of input. Right? So we've got data input frequencies where it goes down to every hour. We want to know, right, how many minutes was a machine down every hour. You're tracking that, or every day, or every week. But entering custom data is the new field here. And custom data means that it doesn't know when or what, have a date structure. This might be, hey, we're going to implement a new customer. And every time we implement a new customer, we want to know how long does it take. We're tracking the cycle time on that. But we could do 3 in a month, or 3 in a week, or once in a quarter. We're not sure when that it's a custom frequency. And so you set in, here's my target for this, what my actual is, right? And then it'll give you that date, and you can set the date automatically based on the date picker of when this next implementation or data point exists. So that's new. Some benefit accounts. All right. So if we look at, let's say this is just a monthly account, our data input frequency or method. Manual input is what it defaults to, which is you enter what's the target, what's the actuals. That's also used with any APIs that you're pulling data with. We can sum the sub-metrics. That's always been there. We got lower level metrics that are underneath this and want to sum it up. We can average, we can calculate metrics, and we can also sum the project benefits. Right? But it gives you a little warning that it's going to change if I do this. And then what it's doing is looking at my accounts for my benefits. So it's looking at the financial benefits on projects and creating a metric out of those inputs from the financial benefits. So if I say I want my total benefits across all these projects, and then I can select and filter which projects, right? Is it only projects, let's say, using a certain workflow or using a certain category in a certain department, etc. If I leave all that alone, it's going to assume I'm going to grab all of that, and there are all the actuals from any project that we've entered data on in terms of their total benefits. Okay. Calculated metrics. So this is a little bit different. So here we've got this calculate metrics, and if I use that, what it allows me to do is create a calculation between 2 separate metrics. And so this might be, revenue per employee. So we've got a metric that's a revenue metric, and we've got a metric that says number of employees. So we take those 2, and we just go find which ones they are, right? So we go in here and say, here's revenue, right? Put in my revenue, and then put in my employee. There's my employee number. I think maybe let's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, There it is. There's my employees number. And then say, all right, save that and do the calculation based on those uh, numbers. I hit recalculate. When I do that, it doesn't have any data for this year. If I go back to last year where my revenue data is, it'll show me that calculated metric. Okay. So Huddleboard metric control is the next view. Sorry, phone ringing. Let's go into a basic Huddleboard here. Let's say this Huddleboard, we've got a number of goals, a number of performance elements. One of those here, well, two areas that we'll look at here. One is the ability to create a control chart around this project. Right? So if I open up this metric and I look at the data and we look at the direction type, we've always had this bigger is better, right? You want revenue to go up, bigger is better. You know, accidents on the work, smaller is better. You want it to go down. Control chart is going to calculate for us what the values are in terms of the mean and the sigmas in terms of how much variation we have across actuals. So as I put in a number, right, on this control chart, so I've, you know, we get a new data point here and we say, you know, 22 or 33 is the new number. I put that in and you'll see automatically it's going to calculate my upper control limit, my mean, my lower control limit, as well as the 1 sigma variation and the 2 sigma variation in terms of upper and lower variation. Right? So it automatically calculates that and displays it in either this view, which is sort of a bar chart where we can see the green zone of the one and then where the red is the upper and lower control limit. Right? So there's the control chart. As well, on the Huddleboard, then you can modify the way you want to see that. In this case, we looked at it and we said, you know what? I don't really need to see where we are in terms of 1 sigma or 2 sigma, or I could put in the trend line as well if I wanted to add. This is a new function as well, is be able to add a trend. So if I do that, right, you can sort of see that trend there. It's hard to see. I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit. But that orange line is the trend line. And so I don't really want to see that. So you can choose which of the variables that you're measuring you want to have display. This is always great too, is we wanted to have a benchmark or a world-class standard. So here's where we are in defects. Here's what a world-class organization looks like. I want to be able to compare those and then be able to display them in this, determine which fields I want to display on this Huddleboard. Okay. Let's make sure we get 100% here. There we go. All right, we're going to the cost reduction area. Project benefits exception report is a new report. And if I go into my projects, my reports, listed here is this project benefits exception report. So we go in here. Interesting. Hold on a second. Let's just, here we go. This is why. Let's pick our date function. Then I want to filter this for any projects in January to December, and I want to see the total benefit on my output. Right? So what this is doing is looking at each project, anything that has, you know, a target value in the project benefit area, but does not have an actual. It will highlight it. So in this case, when we look at this one, like January, here we have a February actual, but no January. How could that be? Right. So it allows you to sort of see quickly, highlighting, hey, here are some that we're not getting the actuals, and then that filter type, this is even a better view. So if we're in, let's say we're in March, right? So let's filter it from March. We just want to see up to March, and anything, that's missing from our action items. We can also see what's been included is this status report. So I can jump into that and see, hey, here's the latest status report, or review some of the status reports on this project right from this exception report. Okay. Finally, in the cost reduction area is this function called close the books. So one of the issues was, if we're looking at project benefits, and this is an admin function, and we're looking at, and we've got an approval process, we're checking the validity of those numbers, that they're accurate, and we've done all that, we can then pick dates, the time frame for which we want to lock those numbers so they cannot be changed, they can't be deleted, they've already been approved. Now this will apply to all the projects based on those dates. Right? So it allows you to sort of, what we're calling it, the close the books function, right? So, hey, we've done all the analysis, the approvals on it, we want to close those books, they can't be changed anymore. Okay? And then strategy execution, finally, last piece. We go into the balanced scorecard report. And we've done a webinar on this a few months ago. But the balanced scorecard report is a huddle board report, new option. So as I create a new huddle board, go in and say, great, and there's this balanced scorecard I would select in creating that view. And what this allows me to do is to take those goals that I've got, and these major goals, and weight them. And then the metrics, weight those metrics to create sort of a base score on overall score, and this is based on a 100-point scale, so it's almost like a grade point average. If I'm at an 86, that's sort of a B average, right? So the way this works is you go into the goals, right? These are all the key goals, and I can set the weights to those. I then go into the metrics that are associated with that goal, and I hit the weights, and then put the weights in, so I can, that EBITDA is at a 40%, much more than revenue from new products, which only applies to 10% of our score. Then as those metrics come in, it will automatically score it based on that scale. Some people use a 1 to 5 scale. I like to use a 0 to 100 scale. To judge the total performance. Okay. So, those are the things that are new. I haven't seen any questions come up. Are there any questions at this point?
I don't see any questions, Randy. I think you were very thorough.
Let's see. All right, so if there are no questions, we're 5 minutes early, so thanks for joining us.
Randy, one quick thought before you end. One thing that we might want to mention is just how these items got onto our roadmap. Like this all comes from conversations that Nihar and you and I and Kyla and everybody else on the team has with customers. So we definitely subscribe to the principles of lean manufacturing and agile, where we have a certain roadmap of things that we want to build, but that's all informed by the customers, and you might say even like a poll in a Kanban style, where people saying, hey, can it do this, does it do this, how can I make it better at this? And that's the way that a lot of these features that Randy demonstrated today made it into the roadmap. So we encourage you to spend some time with Nihar and see what's new, and ask some questions about what's coming, and see how the roadmap can evolve.
Yeah, perfect. Great point. And
Thanks.
what's up? What's next on our webinar list?
Yeah, so February 16th, we have best practices for managing a project portfolio, and that's going to be 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so we look forward to having you on to that webinar. Also, following this webinar, once it closes, we're asking, there's 3 brief questions that we appreciate and value your feedback on the content today, and how potentially KPI Fire continue to help you guys move forward into 2023. And so thank you for taking the time to join us today, and we look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.